There are console gamers and there are PC gamers. Console gamers typically don't give a flying about what resolution their games are playing at. They don't care if the frame rate's 144 frames per second or some bullshit. They just want to put the disc in and have the game work. If they did care, they'd be on PC already. Go ahead, go there and tweak whatever the hell you want, have fun. Now, Microsoft and Sony are releasing more powerful consoles in the middle of a console life cycle to boost performance and enhance visuals. Console gamers aren't forced to buy these, it's just if they want enhanced visuals. So, who exactly are these for? The PS4 Pro and the Xbox One Scorpio are the mid-life cycle iterations of current-gen consoles. We've seen stuff like this before, but not with this much of a significant performance jump. The PS4 Slim and the Xbox One S are more traditional iterations. After a few years, console manufacturers will take the same hardware and make it smaller and cheaper. A slim version, if you will. That's normal. It's not normal to enhance performance this much in a console. It's so much of a performance jump that games are going to have to say on the case, enhanced on PS4 Pro. But the same games will work just fine on the PS4 Slim and regular old PS4. They claim that you only need to buy a PS4 Pro if you want 4K gaming. Even PlayStation VR will work on all PS4 consoles. But there seems to be some confusion about the Xbox One Scorpio and exclusivity. Originally, a Microsoft rep said that it was up to the developers if they wanted to create a game that only took advantage of the advanced hardware. That's not really the case, though. It turns out that developers are forced to make sure that the game runs on all Xbox One consoles. But it turns out that some or maybe all VR games might not work on the regular Xbox One and only work on the Xbox One Scorpio. That still confuses things. And having iterative consoles like this is an absolute nightmare for game developers, because now they have to develop for the superior hardware with the inferior hardware in mind. Previously, that superior hardware was PC, and the inferior hardware was consoles, and modern games that were multi-platform would be spec'd out for consoles and run like complete trash on PC. Now, there's this new middle ground that developers have to compensate for with a completely different dev kit. In order to get games to work at a higher resolution, a lot has to be done. For example, game assets such as textures need to be created at a higher resolution. And what, are those massive files just gonna sit on the disc even on the regular PS4 version? Or is it just gonna be a massive download only for PS4 Pro users? 4K displays have been a thing for a while now. I was surprised and a little bit disappointed when they announced that the Xbox One and PS4 will only 1080p, because I thought that meant that this console lifecycle would be really short. Soon 4K displays would be commonplace and consoles would need to match that, right? Well, Sony anticipates that by the end of the year, 15% of US households will have 4K TVs. Other analysts expect that to jump up to 35% by 2019. So why couldn't they have just waited? The gap between the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 was 5-ish years. The gap between the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 was 6 years, and the gap between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 was 7 years. Why couldn't they have just released the Slim and then waited about a year or two for a brand new console? And now we're stuck in this weird middle ground, and for what? For 15% of people to benefit? And Xbox isn't off the hook here either. They're in the same boat. A lot of people are knocking the PlayStation 4 Pro because it doesn't do true 4K. It just upscales from 1080p. It's important to note that by that same logic, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 didn't actually do true 1080p either. Most of those games were upscaled from 720p, and nobody cared then. Even now, today, a lot of PS4 and Xbox One games are upscaled to 1080p too. I'd argue that instead of focusing on 4K, why don't you focus on getting your current games to work at 1080p at a steady frame rate? But no, that'd be admitting that there's a problem, so you can't do that. Sony claims that the PS4 Pro was born out of the need to keep console gamers from jumping ship over to PC. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Andrew House stated, "There's a dip mid-console lifecycle where the players who want the very best graphical experience will start to migrate to PC, because that's obviously where it's to be had. We wanted to keep those people within our ecosystem by giving them the very best and very highest performance quality. I think that they totally missed the point on console gaming. Us console gamers don't play on console because we want the best looking games. If we wanted that, we'd be on PC already. Sure, it is an added bonus to have something nice to look at, but what we really want is ease of use, uniformity, and polish. It's easy because there's no setup required. We just put the disc in and play. Unless there's like 4 hours of downloads. We know that the game is going to work on our hardware and the game is going to be polished spectacularly to work on our hardware. There won't be any weird glitches because I have a GeForce 720X 1090 bullshit. Suck me off. Oh, this game's only 30 frames per second on PS4? Well, is it the same game? Then I don't care. Instead of keeping console gamers inside your ecosystem, you're going to push them away. Why would I spend $500 3 years after I just spent $400 on your console when I could just go out and buy a PC? I could just toss a new graphics card in if I wanted to keep up with the times and deal with compatibility and drivers and DirectX and Windows. You know what? Forget it. I apologize. So the answer here is I don't know. I have no idea who the PS4 Pro is for. Sony claims that it's for console gamers who want a performance boost, but I don't think that that person exists because if they did, they'd be on PC already. So what do you guys think about the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One Scorpio? Because you know what? They're in the same boat here. The Xbox One Scorpio has an advantage because it's coming out later and it's more powerful. But doesn't mean it's going to have the same problems. It's going to have the same amount of problems with devs. It's going to be a mess. This is a mess. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. And also let me know if you have a 4K display and that's why you're getting it. I don't. I have this. I game on this thing. This thing is like 8 years old. But I'll probably get a Pro just for capturing footage. Because if I don't, you guys will make fun of me for capturing footage on an original PlayStation 4. Thanks. Anyway, leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter. All this other social media garbage. New videos every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday nights is Wulff Den Live. Be a part of our live podcast with us. You can ask us questions, talk to us, talk back to you, blah, blah. And as always, the most important thing that you could do is subscribe and share this video with a friend that's into this news about the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One Scorpio because they are probably just as upset as I am. Thank you guys very much. Have a good week. Oh yeah, it's my birthday. Yay! I don't know why I'm telling you that. Later in 2013, we got Killzone Mercenary. Looking at the sales chart, not many of these games made it over the 1 million sales mark globally. Publishers were starting to see that the Vita wasn't really worth the investment. In the US, things were really dire for the Vita. In Japan, things were a little bit better. The Vita was, and still is, a great home for JRPGs. They had Sword Art Online, God Eater, Soul Sacrifice. They also show Mario in a more cartoony environment, but for some reason, Mario's cel-shaded. This doesn't look good. Nobody wants this in a real Mario game. We want this. This looks perfect. Why does it need to be any different? Because the Unreal Engine is technically better? Who gives a shit?